let's come to order. Today is March the 14th. We're at the Civic Center for our regular voting meeting, our regular meeting of the City Council. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, we again humbly come to you, and we thank you for the blessings of life, the gifts of our city, prosperity that we enjoy, and all of your blessings. For we pray that you'll bless us tonight and keep us. First in your name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Here.
Mr. Wallace?
Here.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Here.
Ms. Albert?
Here.
Mayor Bailey?
Here. I'd like to make just a few comments this evening. First, about beach patrol. We started Leave No Trace on the 1st. It is just fine right now. We don't have a lot of visitors on the beach. I was out there 6 days myself, talking to a lot of folks, 1 to 2 times a day, and I didn't get any blowback from anybody. Everybody was certainly willing to comply, and we're going to keep going in that direction with everything we do to make sure that everybody knows why we're doing it, so that it won't become a big issue. Leave No Trace is not going to be free. We've got a proposal going to the CDC this week to ask for some assistance with some of the financing. We're looking at hiring a contractor this first year to assist us with part of it, but since we do our own beach raking and our own trash pickup already, we're going to continue to do that. We're just looking for the other parts of it. The canal. For the first time in a long time, we're not being able to pass large boat traffic. We put the dredge into maintenance on the 21st of January. It was basically supposed to be back to us in a month, then 2 months, then 2 months and 2 weeks. And when I talked with Miller yesterday afternoon, they assured me that it would be here late this week. It's absolutely necessary we get that back. We spent $13,000 for a long reach excavator. During that extra month, the dredge was gone, and we turned it back in, and we probably won't get to rent that again, because we dipped their machine in salt water many, many times, and it caused it to be rusty. They did not like that. The nearest long reach for us to rent this week was in Mobile, Alabama, which is absolutely ridiculous to haul it all the way from Mobile over here and back when we know we'll get the dredge back this week. Some fishermen are being a little bit inconvenienced. Sorry, that's just how it is this week. Can't do anything about it. The canal project itself is reaching the end of its time. We're actually working on extended days right now due to weather, due to change orders in the canal and that kind of thing. But it is reaching completion. The steel arrived late last week, and we're actually not driving steel today because we have to clean out the canal so the barge can get up there to drive the steel. We have plan B and plan C, just in case something happens later this week, and we expect the dredge back. We're going to be dredging our way into the canal and clearing everything and getting that done. Can I give you a good prognosis of what's going to happen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? No. When it all gets back and we fire that thing up, we hope that there's no hoses leaking or things not reconnected that were disconnected in the dredge. It comes apart in 3 pieces, and it put it all back together again. It's all fixed. So last year we fixed the motor and the pump. This year we did all the exterior work, the hull work, and everything on the dredge, and it is inbound from Miller Marine this week. Again, 2 weeks in a row assured. So that is it's a big deal. It's standing in the way of $93,000 worth of steel getting driven and getting the canal cleaned out and then pumping the west side so it won't sand up again. Council comments.
I just have an update on CDC, Leave No Trace. CDC has printed up about 2,000 rack cards that they will distribute to all the businesses and put at the beginning of the state lines where they already have rack cards. They have also printed out magnets that they are distributing to all the vacation rentals that they are aware of, and the realtors, so that they can all be put in the homes of their homes that they take care of. So thank you, CDC, for taking care of that in a timely fashion.
Other council comments? Citizens' comments? Wow, everybody's here for something, so we're going to find out pretty soon what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, you've read the minutes that are attached as our consent agenda. Are there any amendments or corrections?
No, I have none.
Hearing none, motion to adopt.
So
Consent
moved.
agenda.
Second. Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. Scheduled appearances. Dewberry Preparation.
Good evening, Jeff Britton with Dewberry Preble Rish. Mayor already touched on the canal project. I was trying to stop by there on my way in tonight. They were still working on some of the electrical install. I couldn't get down the road to look at any more, but they're still working on the concrete forming of the cap and the beginning of the retaining wall on the east-west run. I spoke with Bill, the superintendent. They're still hoping to be able to get some work done this week, driving those piles at the end of the mouth of the canal. They'll be depend on whether or not they can get the barge there, like you touched on. Alternate water source. We have a pre-application call tomorrow with Northwest Florida Water Management District to get the project on their radar. We've spoken with the well driller. We're getting updated proposals directly to us, so we won't be paying our sub a markup on the driller's proposal. Once we get them the notice to proceed, they should be able to get mobilized within 3 weeks, and they're estimating that the test well is going to take about a week to finish up. So that's some progress on the alternate water supply. We've been keeping the DEP point of contact updated on all the progress. Farmdale utility review, we're still waiting on tie-in pressures from the county. They're going to install some pressure gauges on the force main to try to get an accurate reading of the pressure there so that the engineers can design the lift station to tie in the force main. We're working with our engineers in Orlando to put together some specs for the engineer to design his rechlorination system for the potable water supply out there. The Mexico Beach Canal dredge maintenance permit. This is a permit for the interior of the canal. It was originally issued in 2007. It was a 10-year permit. We submitted a request in January to have it extended 5 years, and we are working through some questions and answers with the Corps right now. We just resubmitted today on, I think, the last 3 questions they had on it, so we should hear something soon on the extension of that permit. That allows the city to go back. It's separate from the mouth of the canal dredging permit. It allows the city to go back from about 400 feet inside the canal all the way to the tail end. So 23.4 acres or so it covers.
Jeff, some of the questions, the spoils areas?
Not yet. Not yet. It's been more means and methods. How much material do you plan on taking out? Are you proposing any changes to the depth that was approved previously? Things of that nature. Last project, Oleander Road paving. It's that small stretch behind Killer Seafood. In addition to just paving that dirt road, we're trying to resolve an erosion issue on the land behind it. The land's actually owned by the Bay County Conservancy, and they're on board with us performing some improvements to minimize the erosion there. So, a new project that we're working on with Phillip and Company. So, that's it. Any questions on anything?
Grants.
Grants. Our TAP, Transportation Alternative Program grant application, was submitted to West Florida Regional Planning Council. They go through and review the applications and rank them, and then submit them on to DOT for the opportunity for funding. On the agenda tonight is a resolution for the city if they pass it, we'll include that in the application. We have the previous resolution in the application, because one of the categories you get points for is how old is the project. So we submitted the previous resolution from 2015, just one more demonstration that this project has been around for several years, and it is a priority for the city. So we have all the letters that you guys signed for us, submitted, included in it. We'll include this resolution tomorrow when we get a copy of it, and it'll be complete and on its way.
The Parker Park, when we can, and I mentioned this to Mel today, when we can go for another grant, a walking bridge would be ideal there. It works out fine walking along the road when we have the market there, and I'm sure it will be, hopefully, when we have the Gumbo Festival there, but a walking bridge would absolutely be ideal if we can somehow put that kind of at the top,
Right.
or pretty close to a priority.
We've talked with DEP about that. They've got several different opportunities for that. It's not really a fit for the FERDAP, but they do have a trails program that it would be a fit for. But the catch there is it's got to connect to something. If we had a bike trail, say, leading down maybe to Crooked Island Beach Road or something like that, where you're connecting that spot all the way into town to the beach and then all the way back down to the beach on the other end, that provides like a trail connectivity, and it would score higher in that scenario.
Okay. All right, thanks.
One other thought I had, I think I've heard you guys talk about an emergency services building a couple of times. We could apply for a CDBG grant for that, and that'd probably be a couple years out because we're in the middle of one right now for the housing improvements, but something to keep on the radar if that's something you guys would be interested in. So.
Any questions from the floor? Thank you, Joe.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight, within our regular meeting, we have a public hearing. I'm calling that public hearing to order at this time. Let the record show that all the council members are present. The public hearing is for a variance request from 614 Highway 98. Mel, you want to give us some background on that, please?
Sure.
Application was received by Nicholas and Teresa DeLallo for a pool in the front yard. Their testimony was given at the Plan and Zoning meeting last Monday night. And the Plan and Zoning was very diligent by going through all of the items for review. In other words, they looked at things as they should, that asks the question that special conditions and circumstances exist which are peculiar to the land, structure, or building involved, which are not applicable to other land, structures, or buildings in the same zoning district. And in this case, there is nothing peculiar to this particular land. Special conditions and circumstances do not result in the actions of the applicant. In this case, it does. Granting the variance does not confer an applicant any special privilege that is denied by the LDR to other buildings, structures in the same zoning. And of course, it is inappropriate to approve it in this line of thinking. Also, if you look at it from the comprehensive plan standpoint, the comprehensive plan itself has a couple of issues. Number one, objective 1.4.1. The city shall restrict proposed development which is inconsistent with the character of the community and will incorporate provisions for the elimination of non-conforming land uses into its land development regulations. So there was some testimony given by Mr. DeLallo last week that he's had the address changed to Oleander. That was not done through the city process, so it was approved by the county. The county was notified that any future address changes has to be gone through permission from the city first before that happens again. And also at this time, I'd like for Mr. DeLallo to have his particular kick at the cat, you might say.
Sir, please come tell us who you are and where you live, please.
Nicholas DeLallo, live at 1302 Highway 98 in the club. We purchased this land at 614 Highway 98, and I had plans built, plans drawn, hired engineers, architects to build my home. And I'm still in objection that I shouldn't be here for a variance, but that we'll handle later, I guess. We need the council to address something, but I'll just tell you what I have here. I still maintain that my front yard is on Oleander Avenue, now known as 611 Oleander Ave, as it was reassigned by Bay County 911 Services, Ron Harris. You guys have the letter. The original address was issued in 1991 as 611 Oleander Avenue. When it was changed, I don't know. I didn't circumvent the building department because I already had an address changed in Port St. Joe, and they told me go 911 Services. That's what I did this time. I didn't bother going to the city.
Some people have trouble hearing you. Can you speak up just a little bit, please?
Okay. I had a building in Port St. Joe, and I was told to go to 911 Services to have the address changed. So that's what I did in this instance. I didn't try to go around as Mel and other people are insinuating. My driveway and front door and the mailbox are all on Oleander Avenue, and actually no one can enter my property from Highway 98. My original architectural plans incorrectly showed the elevations reversed, but they've now been corrected, which they have. Nevertheless, if you guys determine that 98 is indeed my front yard, your LDR states that under yards 3.00.04, the front lot line to the front building in depth is a yard. Any open space located on the same lot with a building unoccupied and unobstructed from the ground up shall consist of the horizontal distance between the line and the nearest point of the foundation wall. My pool is the foundation wall to the front, to the setback by the sidewalk. My front yard's empty. My home deck and pool and garage are all within the setbacks as stated in your LDR, which is the distance between the building line and the related property line. Therefore, my front yard is empty and my structure falls within these setbacks. My front yard starts at the edge of the footing under the pool wall and continues out to the property line. I have structural S1 to show you guys if you don't have a copy of the structural drawings. If you guys feel that these arguments and a variance is, I feel there's no need for a variance. I feel that I fall within everything that I've said. But if that doesn't work, I'd like to state why my original argument was, or why I shouldn't even be asking for a variance. I should have just got a permit from the building department. I argue that the pool is an accessory structure as defined in 2.0402, accessory structures and uses. Allowable accessory structures by land use districts. Allowed are tools, garages, greenhouses, storage sheds, and pools. 2.0400, accessory structures and uses. That definition defines, unless otherwise provided, if on the same premises where a building is attached to the principal building, it shall be considered a part thereof and not an accessory building. The west side of the pool, as well as the wall under the porch, is attached to the principal building and therefore is not an accessory. There's a patio, storage, and pool equipment underneath. Again, we need to see structural S1. Also, 20403 states, all pools shall be completely enclosed with approved wall. The enclosure shall completely surround the pool. No prohibited, unrestrained admittance to the enclosed area, which it is. My pool is 8 feet in the air. No one can get to it. 204.00 also states that the purpose of the article is to regulate accessory structures to ensure that they are not harmful either aesthetically or physically to the residents or surrounding areas. It is not. I realize that the rules of interpretation allow Mel to interpret the codes of definitions for you and to make a recommendation. But I feel that your Mexico Beach building inspector, Bo Creel, as well as my certified engineer from SCE, who has had numerous projects before you, have a better knowledge of the codes, rules, and building engineering. Both have stated it is all tied together, is one structure, as well as the footing along 98 is where the yard starts. This has been ignored by Mel and needs to be addressed. Why do you have a building inspector if you're not going to listen to him? In other words, I should not be here for a variance. If this board is going to ignore the licensing and degrees and qualifications and accept his interpretation over the others, I request that this board ask your own building inspector and your city engineer to explain to us all, as I requested by my letter that was never forwarded to you guys. The building department issues building permits on major construction, but it somehow got shut down. City administrator handles minor construction. It is up to this board to decide whether I do not need a variance and to direct this back to the building department or city administrator to issue a building permit on my house and pool so I can start building my house. If this is the case, then let's handle it that way, if possible. That's it. Any questions?
I don't have any questions yet, but I'd like to redress as we hear other testimony.
Okay.
Okay.
From the audience? Okay.
Does anyone else like to provide testimony in this case?
Thank you. My name is Michael Moore. My family and I have owned the property at 608, which is right next door to Ms. Diallo's property. We've owned that property since 1949. I've lived down here. I live in Tallahassee now. I would ask that the council follow the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission and of its city administrator in denying the variance. There's no reason to have a swimming pool in the front yard of US Highway 98. Of all the houses on US Highway 98, none have a front yard swimming pool. It would, I think, interfere with the continuity of Mexico Beach. It would interfere with what we, over the past 6 years, have tried to develop as a family beach. And I see no reason why you should have a swimming pool 150 feet away from the Gulf of Mexico, which is the biggest swimming pool we can have. And we need to protect it. So I ask that when you are looking at what can happen today, you also look at what can happen in the future. By granting this variance and allowing that pool to be built, then any of us that live or have property on US Highway 98 can decide that we want to move our address to Oleander, claim that 98 is our backyard, and build a pool also. It would be a complete and total disaster for this city if you started allowing pools in your front yard, especially on US Highway 98. And I ask that you respect the continuity of what this city has become and will become and not allow this. I believe there's enough property with a double lot that Mr. Diallo can put his swimming pool, if he has to have one, he can put it on the side or in the back of his house with little or no concern as to money or anything like that. So I ask that you look not only for now and today, but also for the future of what we as citizens of Mexico Beach, and you that live here full time, wish to have. Thank you.
Is there other testimony, please?
Realize his family's been here for many years. Things evolve, things change. There's small houses, there's large houses being, people coming in, buying properties and building bigger homes. Not here to hurt smaller homes or anything else or his family, but what stops me from having a pool, because the ocean's across the street, it's irrelevant. He's saying that, why should I have one? It's not up to him for me to have a pool. I would like to have a pool. But granting a variance is understandable, and arguing that it doesn't fit with all of those things. But if you recall, I feel that I'm not here for a variance. My home falls within regular building permits. And if you guys, that's what I need to address. That's what we need to get down to. I think we need to skip the whole variance and have building inspectors, city engineers, and maybe city council address this to see who's right and who's wrong, and put the variance on the back burner, because I shouldn't be here for a variance.
Wait, while you're there, I'd like to go ahead and address a couple of things.
Go ahead.
I've got a good idea why your address was changed years ago.
Okay.
There is a segment in the LDR that says that the street address will be on the major street. And it was indeed changed to the major street. So
We couldn't find it.
I don't think it's an Oleander address at all.
Okay.
It's a 98 address, as is every house on 98.
Okay.
Secondly, I think pools are accessory structures when they are an accessory to the house and not necessarily a part of the house. An accessory structure such as a tool shed, that's an accessory. A freestanding garage is an accessory, and a freestanding pool is an accessory. It can be argued both ways. I do think we're here looking at a variance for the correct reason. The LDR also states that pools shall be in the side or behind the house. Now, the foundation wall, and I have met with Mr. Creel and talked with him at great length, and I heard his technical argument of how this may be considered part of the structure. But one thing that he and I could not agree on, reading the same words, was, is this pool in front of your house? He says it may not be because of the foundation that you're talking about, and that very specific argument. But it's still on the front of the house, even if it is a part of the house. And that still yields the question, can a pool be in the front of the house, either attached or not? It's still a question, because there is another part of the LDR, I'm sure you read that, that says your pool has to be the side or the back. Would you like to redress that?
That issue, you just said it yourself, that you guys are against each other, so we need somebody to figure it out. If you don't agree with him and he doesn't agree with you, we need to find someone that knows the law and can address it. That's my feeling. And if you still feel it is a variance, and you say that there's no homes on 98 with a pool, right next to Mediacom is the 9-unit complex with a pool, and it received a variance for a pool in the front yard, and it says it right in the minutes. Mel stated that it was commercial. It is not commercial, it's residential, because it's under 9 units, I believe, or under a certain amount of units. But it's listed on the Bay County website as residential. Residential common, 00900. If there's 9 homes there, there's 9 residences. It's not a commercial unit. Commercial starts to get into the size of the View or Paradise Shores, like you guys said last time, which I also argued about having the pool on the side. Both of those places have it, but it's all one structure. It's all poured, the garage is underneath, everything's all at once. It's higher up, and the View is also facing 98. So there are buildings with pools in the front. Maybe not a single family residential, but those 9 units, to me, it's residential.
But that is what we're talking about here, though. We're talking about an individual residential lot, not a multifamily and not a commercial condo. So we're talking about the same zoning, and I would have to go back and look myself. I know what you're telling me, but a unit with 9 units on it should not be residential general or residential low density, because that doesn't fall within that zoning code.
You gave it a variance.
With a variance, I suppose it could. With a variance, I suppose it could, but that more likely is tourist residential, which is a different code.
It is not, but maybe Mel knows it, he's familiar with it, I don't know. But you guys issued a variance for the pool in the front of that. But again, I state that you feel that I'm here for a variance, and I disagree. I think it falls under that, and you just stated that you talked to Beau Creel, and you're having a problem coming to an agreement. How do we fix it? Who do we address? Who do we ask? If we need to table it, we can. Put the variance on the side, and let's get a clear understanding of what the foundation is.
Any questions of the applicant? Thank you.
You can't see the pool from 98?
No, sir. Do you have the plans?
Yeah, I've seen the plan.
Okay. Can't see it.
And all the other commercial sites, you can see the pool, with the exception of the ones up high.
Yeah, at Paradise Shores, of course, you can see the pool, but it's elevated much like Mr. DeLallo's would be.
Mhm.
Couple of minor points. Whether or not the council has jurisdiction over the matter, yes, we do, over variances. And does any member have any reason they should abstain from voting on this issue?
No.
Just administrative things they have to take care of. Deliberation by the council.
I think we're talking residential. Yes. Sorry. I think from the example of the other pool, it may be a residential, but it's a multi-residential unit. Certainly is in the area of where commercial is. In fact, and without looking it up, I would have expected it to be commercial. And it is multi-residential versus a single residential. So I think that is one of the issues. I think the second issue for me would be that I know he understands, he feels he has his home front on Oleander. I've been through this before on a couple of other things when I was on zoning board. It is the city that determines where the front of the house is. It is not the county. I can remember one other case that we had a situation where the county came in and something was done at county level, did not go through here, and there was quite a fight on that situation. And again, it finally came back that it was the city versus the county that had the right to determine what happens in the city. So the two issues I see is that, one, it's a residential, single-family residential, and indeed that the front of the home, as it's set up right now, should be and would be 98.
I agree with the address. I think it needs to be 98. Yes, it was changed. I think that you bought it as a 98 address. I might be incorrect. I believe that if we change it to Oleander, we're causing problems for the emergency service, because all of a sudden, if somebody's new, they have to be thinking differently than just 98. Their mind has to hit Oleander. So I think the address is 98 without a doubt. I know Mel's talked to Bay County and said, you can't just change it. You've got to come to us first. In terms of the pool, Paradise Shores we keep bringing up, but that pool is not in front of the structure. There are structures on the side of it. So it is not in front of the structure, as I understand your pool will be in front of your house. That's a big difference to me. The other thing is, you mentioned a variance for the other condominium, the 9. This is the problem we have when we give variances, because whether it's 10, 15 years down the road, somebody will come and say, well, that council gave a variance. So this is one of the reasons that we're awfully careful not to give variances. It really has to be a very, very good reason, and not just because it was done one time.
About 8 or 9 years ago, before I moved here, I was asking for a variance, and the Planning and Zoning Board approved it 100%, and the council disallowed it. And I didn't know what the LDR was. Nobody explained that to me. That was my fault. It is frustrating, and I've been reading the LDR for the last week, and it's still frustrating. But the way I understand this, I'd done my plans and all that too, and came to the building inspector, oh, you can't do that. Why can't I do that? Nobody told me I couldn't do that. Anyway, that was my problem. Now, the way I understand it, and looking at the drawings, what if you brought the eastern part of your building up 3 feet past the pool, some way or other? Then would that be considered the side of the house?
It would.
Well, that's kind of sticky wicket, isn't it? I mean, and that's kind of the way I felt it when my variance was disallowed. But it just, I understand the reason we try to avoid variances. Just like she said, it causes problems down the road. I can't get around the fact you're not going to see this pool either. And I believe if it was me, I'd go change my design and bring it 2 feet, the building 2 feet up, and put your pool where you wanted to put it.
And that would solve the problem?
That'd solve my problem.
Mr. Butler.
You know, when the LDR is a 98 address, I consider it 98. And it states pools side or go on the side or behind the house. And again, like the variances, it's hard to agree with a variance that could cause so many problems down the road with other houses on 98. You know, and I just think we have to be real careful about giving variances and maybe causing a lot of problems down the road.
Yeah, I don't think the changing of address makes that much difference. I have to go along with the LDR on that regard about 98. But I also understand you're not having a front door on 98. Consequently, you may have trouble if you have an emergency there and people come to 98 and they can't get in the front door. But that's just kind of the way it goes. I'm afraid I'm going to have to vote with the planning and zoning people for just those various reasons, but it's really, really close. And it's close enough that I'd spend 10 or 15 minutes looking at my plans if I were you. And still, you could have the pool basically in the same place and it could be considered side of the house by simply moving a few things constructionally, which makes the whole thing seem nearly ridiculous. But that's the way it is.
Would you like to readdress?
We actually raised that issue last week about the 2 homes that do have a pool on the side. And when I addressed that and said if I do bring out the front, Mel said that we're not here for that issue tonight. But I don't want to have to come here again after I pay the architect, the engineer, and new building permit and plans, and my house, and I do all that construction and bring it forward. The pool's going to stay in the same spot. The front of my house is going to come all the way up. and you guys have to approve that. You guys are the ones that approve the building plans, correct?
No, not for residential, we don't approve residential,
It doesn't get forwarded to you from the building department or for him?
not for minor residential, it does not. We're only dealing with the variance, that's the only thing we're considering tonight.
Okay. But it was stated that, and everybody nodded, that if I did redo my plans, that it would be okay.
I did not nod,
Okay.
any form of consent, did anybody besides Mr. Wallace nod consent?
No?
I nodded.
Well, I think, from my point of view, and it's non-disrespect to you, anytime you change your plans, it's got to be reviewed. If there's something that comes up in that, that says it's got to come in front of us, it's going to come in front of us.
Understood.
You know, it's not a, no, it's not going to change, it's...
I agree 100%.
Okay.
I want to make sure that when I do that, the other two homes that have it like that, with the house, with the pool on the side, now unfortunately I'm going to block his whole view looking west, but it's okay. My pool will be on the side of my home. And I'll have to have the plans changed since it's apparent that I'm not getting the variance, or that you guys are butting heads with the inspector and maybe the city engineer. Maybe the city engineer can help us, but I see that it's non-winnable. So I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to go ahead and pay the architects and the engineers to build that wall all the way out and keep the pool where it is. Do you guys feel I'm going to be back here in front of you with that issue?
I can't prejudge your plan.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Teresa Dorello. If he redoes the plans and it falls into everything that the LDR states, that it's on the side of the house because you pull the front of the house forward, just like 404 house, that the greenhouse with the pool. Looks like it's in the front to me, I don't know, driving by, I see it every day. But their porch only, not a whole structure, they just have a porch that comes out past. They have a room downstairs and a porch with an overhang that comes out past the pool.
That's correct.
Not a lot. I mean, seriously, it's not a lot past the pool. Maybe a foot, if it's even
Yeah,
that.
we have an aerial in this.
Right. It's not a lot, correct?
It's not a lot, but it is indeed past.
Okay, so that falls into a situation where you would just get a permit, because it falls into every little category that you state.
That's correct.
Okay, so there should be no problem getting a permit. We should not have to come in front of you again, because if we follow every single thing, and which I wish we would have known that, and I wish the people who designed the house would have told us that, so we would have never had to come here, because our house would have been half built by now. But I understand that there's procedures and everything has to be followed the way that it's stated. But I want to, if we're going to go back and spend all this money again, I want to make sure that we're not having the same issue. And it should be granted a permit. And it's not going to go in front of you. Is that correct, Mel?
It won't come before the city council, it goes to Royce and Bo, and I'm the final signator.
Okay. And do you have a problem if we change all the plans? and we
Until
do
I see the
exact-
plans, I can't say.
No, but if it falls exactly into the LDR, like
If you
it's
comply
red,
with the LDR, I'll sign it.
perfect. That's all I want to know.
That's the answer. If it meets the requirements of the LDR, it will be approved.
That's it. Perfect. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
But
I
it-
apologize we had to take up all your time on this.
This is before the council for a vote. Are you withdrawing your request for variance, or do you want us to vote on the variance?
You can go ahead and vote if you like.
Oh, why do we need to? We're not asking for a variance. Okay, so then if you deny the variance, right now you vote and you deny, what happens then?
Then you have to change your plans for it to come back again.
Okay. Do you really need to do that or not? Okay, we don't need a vote. We're going to change our plans.
Okay?
What about the address? Do we need to vote on that, or no? Okay,
The address is a matter of the
Okay.
LDR.
okay.
In consideration that the request for variance has been withdrawn, I declare this hearing closed. We resume with the regular council meeting.
You had a question.
Who had a question?
Mr. Diallo, if they change their plans, will they have to have a new environmental study to see about the runoff and any harm that it might cause any properties around it?
The study of the runoff and all that kind of thing that's considered by the building department
Okay.
will be the same as any other dwelling.
Okay, so there will be some type of study to show that if they put this, whatever they're putting up there, that the impact to my property will be negligible or none?
In any construction, any constructor or new person is bound to use due diligence not to cause flooding, erosion to their neighbor's property. But that's in the building code. I don't have the Florida building code in front of me.
Okay.
But the inspector certainly inspects for that, no matter if they built this house or a different house.
Okay.
Okay, moving right along. The next item on our agenda is misstated in our agenda. It says commercial development order for Ocean View subdivision. It is not a commercial development order, it is a major residential development order. It's a typographical, still the same product, Ocean View subdivision, which is at 8th Street, behind the condo on the corner, for everyone who didn't know what we're talking about. It's a Toucan property that's flat at the base of the hill in front of Toucan. Mel, would you tell us about that one, please?
Sure. Application for a subdivision for 8th Street behind the Paradise Shores condominium. It is zoned residential low density, which does allow for 6 residential units per acre. This particular development has 2 acres, therefore it could have a maximum of 12 dwelling units in there. The request is for 11 dwelling units. It also includes a pool and a small pool house. And I will note, just for honks and giggles, that when the initial plan came out, the pool was next to 8th Street, and I had them change the plan to put the pool in the back to be consistent with the neighborhood.
Okay. Has the engineering for this subdivision been completed?
Engineering has been complete.
Has it been reviewed by an external engineering firm?
It has been reviewed by Panhandle Engineering, which is our paid consultant to review subdivisions.
Okay. There's a question about the size of the lots. Does the size restriction in the LDR, which states basically a 10% variance from neighboring lots, does that have any effect on this development?
At this particular, it does not. And here's the reason why. If you look at that paragraph on page 69 of the LDR, section 3.07.00, that second paragraph says lots created by re-subdivision of an existing lot in a recorded or unrecorded residential area. That's the key, re-subdivision. It's never been subdivided before, so you can't re-something that's never happened first. Therefore, that whole paragraph does not apply.
Okay. So this is a standalone small subdivision.
That's correct, and that same opinion is the same opinion our city attorney has as well.
It is subdivided into individual lots, and every house intended to be built in this subdivision meets individual standards.
That is correct. Maybe individual standard, not so much, but the smaller lots does allow for the subdivision as a whole then to meet the standards of all the density and everything you were just talking about.
It's just the maximum homes that could be built there.
They could have one more if they wanted.
I have a question, and I talked to you before about this. On that paragraph, it says re-subdivision of an existing lot in a recorded or unrecorded residential area. Was this lot part of Paradise Shores? Was all of that one piece of land, and then Paradise Shore was built on that area and the remaining land wasn't built? Was this one plot? If so, wouldn't it have already been subdivided? Or were they originally two different plots of land?
That's ancient history that I don't have,
Okay.
but it was originally platted to what it is now. And platted and subdividing are two different things.
So it meets all the requirements necessary
It does.
for us to approve.
The LDR is very clear.
Let's approve it. Let's vote on it.
What is the recommendation of planning and zoning?
The planning and zoning was very concerned about the small size of the lots as well, and they had asked the city council to at some point in the future address minimum lot sizes. But they did say that they may have a personal reason not to like the subdivision, but they are bound by the LDR, and because it meets the LDR requirements, then they voted 4-0 in favor.
I don't have anything to say. I just want to, I know I'm sure we've all gotten comments, and one of the comments was, where's Toucan's parking going to be? But I hope the people remember that Toucan's did come years ago and asked for that plat of land to become commercial so that it would be an official parking lot, and they were turned down originally for their parking lot. So it's not that Toucan's didn't try to accommodate all their cars, but years ago the council turned them down.
Another small tidbit, where they're parking now, right behind the condominium, they have a agreement with the city for 10 years total to use that as a parking lot. Previous administration.
I'm not aware of that one.
It was with our previous administrator.
Okay.
I've seen it. I can't remember where it exactly is, but Mr. Hubbard signed the document that gave them a 10-year use of where they're using right behind the condominium that is their property to use it for a parking lot. You'll have to find it, but that's only a tidbit of information. It's the piece that's still not going to be used,
Right.
not the piece we're talking about. Are there comments or questions from the floor? Yes, ma'am.
Carol Bonanno, 720 Fortna. I don't agree with your 10%. Last week you said that the lots couldn't be more than 10% less within the development, and now all of a sudden it doesn't matter at all. But my real question here is, are they going to retain ownership of the property and the buildings, or are they going to sell them off like a residential neighborhood?
The requirement in the LDR is that each individual lot is got its own proper ID number and is sellable by the owner. Whether the owner retains ownership or not is immaterial to this discussion.
If they retain it and they rent them out, that's a commercial business.
You can rent your home out. Does that make it commercial?
There's a state law that says we cannot control what an individual homeowner does with their property.
If he does that, it's going to ruin the atmosphere of the neighborhood. This is a quiet residential neighborhood.
I understand. I live in the same neighborhood, but actually rent out a mobile home next door to me because I can.
That's a single home that you're renting out.
Yes.
This is
Single home.
This is 12 homes that are people are going to be coming and going.
11 homes, and they're individual homes.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. Other questions or comments? It's not worded this way on our minutes, but it's the time to vote on this approval of this subdivision.
Yes, sir. Of course, you have to give the public a chance to talk, and I think they just did. So at this point, it's appropriate for the board to have deliberation and vote.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion either way.
I move we approve.
I'm on every subdivision.
All right.
Is there a second?
Go a second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
We'll say that there are several issues that I don't personally care before about this subdivision. However, it does meet the LDR. And we've spoken a lot tonight about the LDR and meeting the regulations. Therefore, I do have to say yes.
Ms. Albert?
I'm going to say yes, but I also feel that some of the lots are small, but it does meet it, and it's something that the council needs to address in the future about lot sizes. But yes.
I'll also vote yes to approve this subdivision. Next item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance 665. Motion to read ordinance 665 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Please read ordinance 665 by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the appropriation of funds of the budget for the fiscal year 2016 to 2017 for the purpose of providing funds for the general fund and providing an effective date.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, this is a small movement of funds from one recreation fund to the general fund for the purpose of providing some decorative banners along Highway 98. Next item on the agenda is the second reading of ordinance 661. Motion to read ordinance 661 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please read ordinance 661 by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, establishing a temporary moratorium on growing, cultivation, processing, manufacturing, dispensing, distribution, and wholesale and retail sale of medical cannabis, low THC cannabis, and derivative products, or any related activities, establishing a temporary moratorium on the opening, relocation, or expansion of any medical marijuana dispensing facility within the City of Mexico Beach, directing city staff to develop proposed land development regulations and other recommendations regarding such cannabis-related activities, providing for penalties, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Ladies and gentlemen, last November, the state voted to accept medical marijuana. The state has not given us any guidance, so to speak, on the dispensaries and agricultural concerns. This only gives us a 180-day breathing period. We've got to work on this in the next 180 days. This ordinance is a time-limited ordinance. Are there questions from the floor? Motion to adopt ordinance 661.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Dan?
Yes. Ordinance 662. Motion to read ordinance 662 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please read ordinance 662 by title only.
An ordinance amending ordinance 445, establishing fees by resolution, rules for use of the city marina, severability, and an effective date.
Ladies and gentlemen, what this in effect does is allow us to amend the use of our marina dock fees by resolution instead of having to go through an ordinance every time that it's done. Hasn't been updated in some 12 or 14 years, and that's what this ordinance is. We've already talked about the fees and approved by resolution what they will be. Motion to adopt ordinance 662.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. Resolution 2017-03. Motion to read resolution 2017-03.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please read the entire resolution 2017-03.
I have to dig that out, Your Honor, I'm sorry. A resolution of this resolution, I'm sorry. Resolution by 2017-03, a resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, establishing mooring fees. Whereas Ordinance 662 provides for the collection of fees for mooring, electrical service storage, related provision of services and goods, and late fees. And whereas Ordinance 662 provides for said fees to be set by a resolution of the City Council, now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, that the following rates become effective upon the approval of this resolution. For daily rates, for no electric, it's $30. With electric, $31. The storage box not available. Weekly rate is $173 with no electric, $180 with electric, storage box not available. Monthly is $263, no electric. With electric, $294, storage box $15. For annual, with electric, $3,000, storage box is included. Introduced and passed at the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida on March 14th, 2017, I'm sorry.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2017-03.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. Resolution 2017-04. Motion to read Resolution 2017-04 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
This is a resolution talking about the support for sidewalks on 15th Street. Mel, please read Resolution 2017-04.
Yes, sir. Resolution number 2017-04, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, to support construction of sidewalks on 15th Street with transportation alternatives funding and providing for an effective date. Whereas this support is consistent with the Bay County Transportation Planning Organization, or TPO, and FDOT policy supporting alternative means of transportation. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, in regular session on the 14th day of March 2017, does hereby support the construction of sidewalks along 15th Street with transportation alternative funding. Introduced and passed at the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida on March 14th, 2017.
As Jeff said earlier, all council members were individually polled severally to support this resolution. Motion to adopt Resolution 2017-04.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
You have a question?
I'm sorry. Didn't see her.
Being quiet. Connie Reisinger, 504 Maryland. Would you tell me how we're paying for this, the sidewalks?
That's a grant now.
It is a grant?
It's a grant
Okay.
application.
I thought it was, but I still want to double check.
But the crosswalk across the bridge, we go charge that to your taxes.
That sounds good.
No, this is a continuation of the project that started and the rest of it. I lost where I was at.
We're going to
We
vote.
voted. We're going to vote.
Mr. Putnam?
There you go.
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Do we stand a good chance of getting this approved, do you think? Okay. 1,000-yard stare.
Well, I don't know what the competition is. I
Yeah.
doubt anybody has a cover as strong as ours.
Well, the next photograph we make, I need to have some children walking with me across there. And the car that nearly hit me the other day could come close again.
Yeah. Should have better aim next time.
I volunteered Jerry to drive the car.
I got that noted. Yeah, the 15th Street is the dangerous street, especially in that curve.
Yes.
Just today, Chief and I were talking about log trucks cutting through there. If they're empty, that's one thing. If they're loaded, that's a completely other thing.
Right.
And they're on top of that. So are they on the speed coming down through there. As Mel can attest to the fellow who came to City Hall that wanted forbearance on $202 ticket. But we are working on that. It is a dangerous street, and if you haven't looked over there lately, folks, go down and look at these two subdivisions, how they have filled up right there at the head of the street. So all those folks are walking to the beach.
Well, the fellow was doing 56 miles an hour, too.
Not good.
Maybe that could be part of the FDOT grant for the walking bridge, for the, you could stretch it a little bit,
Tied together.
tie it all together.
Double the mileage.
Yeah.
We're not gonna put paddle boats in the note. Okay, Bill, the surplus property, please.
You have in your packet a list of surplus property. The police department would like to get rid of 8 body cam cameras, 1 Crown Victoria sedan, 1 Ford Explorer, numerous old printers, outdated leather police gear, tasers that are outdated. The Public Works wants to get rid of a 60-inch zero-turn Hustler, needs a lot of work. Another one, a Kubota, needs a lot of work, and cooling system needs work as well. A utility truck, also a 160 kilowatt Detroit Straight 6 generator. Also another engine and a shop compressor. So those are the items that we would like to put on auction if the council does give permission.
Any questions about any of those items that's on the list?
I just misspoke a little bit. There's an opportunity for the chief to let another department have some of the equipment that he's got at no charge, but we can't just give it away. We have to get it surplused first.
It's a department, also obviously still in Florida, that's a 3-person department, and they're having some struggling with their finances. And they have officers out there, and they only recently received a vest from one of the city council members, so they're struggling to try to make ends meet. So with council permission, I would like to send a couple to them. We've updated our body vests. We've also updated our camera system that's going online this month. Received the information, the uniform equipment that's been replaced a week ago. And so we're ahead of the curve as far as updated quality of the materials that we have for the officers and public safety in general.
And I think we're all aware of some of the issues we have with some of that equipment.
Yes, sir. And as far as the 2 vehicles, it is literally costing me more in oil and transmission fluid and radiator fluid to maintain one of the 2 cars that we really desperately need to get rid of.
Okay.
I have no problem giving it to the other departments. We've gotten things from other departments. They've helped us out, so pass it forward.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Motion to declare this property surplus.
So moved.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. Bill, tell us about the City Hall furniture, please.
Sure. When we first had our groundbreaking for the City Hall, there was a gentleman who attended the groundbreaking and came up to me afterwards, introduced himself as a office furniture salesperson from Lights Office Equipment in Lynn Haven. I didn't think much about it at the time, but that turned out to be a good contact. In the meantime, trying to be frugal with the city's money, we looked at some places that offered some used office furniture. There was always a problem of how do you bid this thing out? You know, how do you get everything in detail without seeing it first and making a decision later? So we had problem with consistent quality for used office furniture and availability, you know, once you decided what to get. So we checked into the state bid to see what was out there. And it turns out that Lights Office Equipment is one of the vendors for the state bid. And so the office furniture that you see in the packet, and I apologize for the TV screens not working tonight, but there's a layout of our office furniture, how it would lay out. That's the work that Lights Office Equipment did on our behalf. And we made quite a few changes over time. The great thing about this is the fact that this is at 60% off the normal retail price. 60% off is a pretty good savings. So the bottom line is we are able to equip our new city hall for about $28,406 plus an installation charge of $2,900. We also have a proposal for a filing system, which costs about $6,924 plus an installation of $5,500. So that, of course, is well over my spending authority. The filing system is a rolling type system where it maximizes the use of space. There's going to be 4 racks that has cranks on it to make the aisle any way you can. This all equals to 39 4-drawer cabinets. And as much as we like to be electronic and everything paperless, we still are required to keep a lot of stuff in paper. And so this will give us the flexibility to have enough paper storage capacity in that one room for tens of years in the future. So even though it might seem that $6,900 is a lot of money to spend, we think it's going to be money well spent and used and have something available for the city in the future.
Now, with the approval of this furniture and filing system, are we still within the confines of the insurance money we had left in the old partner house?
Without question, we have a budget of $550,000. And so our normal bid for just the building itself with the site work is $462,000. I think in the memo I just rounded it up to $470 because stuff always comes up at the last minute. We have spent most of our money with Preble Ridge for the site plan. I think we only got a couple thousand left to go. We've got transfer of our data equipment, the phone system and things of that sort of about $4,000. So we're going to come well under our budget. So I think this will fall in and still have some money left over at the end.
Questions?
Nope, I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea. I know that some people will say, we don't need all those file cabinets, but if you start and do part, and then you need it, then you might not get what you had before, and it's gonna look hodgepodge. We're putting $470,000 into this beautiful building. If you haven't been through it, it really is nice. I also feel that when you have a new building, if we have the money, you're not going to have another chance to get some good furniture. And 60% off is a very good price. I don't have a problem with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. Mel, explain to me, I understand the filing cabinet, and I certainly understand the need for filing cabinets, but explain to me how the installation fee for the filing cabinet is almost the price of the cabinet itself. I don't understand that.
The only answer I can give you, the price is what it is. It's a highly technical thing. You can see, I think I said earlier 4 rows, there's only 3, I'm sorry. They have to be installed very minutely and deliberately, otherwise they won't work. So all these tracks that are going to be in the floor has to be done right. It's not like we can have Tommy and Hardy or Mel go out there and put these in. You got to have these professionals do it. And because these things crank, you want to make sure they're done right.
You said it's mobile, but it's not. It's a stationary system that somehow moves around, sort of like a transformer, let's say. But it's not a rolling filing cabinet that's going to be pushed from room to room.
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
I think if I'm, Mel, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that sometimes when you go into the doctor's office, or I know at Parkway Animal,
Yeah.
they have those cabinets that pull
Okay.
out. I
Okay.
believe that's what you're talking about. Some of the doctor's offices, they pull it out, and they're floor to ceiling, basically.
I know the one at Parkway, yeah.
I think that's what
Okay.
this is. I could
Okay.
be wrong, but I
Well,
think.
and of course, the whole unit is what moves
It's like
side
making
to side.
a whole wall of library
Yeah.
books at one time on a
Okay.
track.
Thank you.
In other words, instead of having 2 aisles, one between the 3, you only got 1 aisle, so you maximize your space, and you
Okay.
move it out of the way.
Other questions? Motion to allow Mel to complete the contract with the state, under state bid for the equipment, the office equipment that's been described to us.
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. We're looking maybe 30 days away, and it'll be finished. If you haven't looked lately, the walls are on the outside. The inside has all the primer put on all the ceiling and walls. The doors have been delivered. They're starting to paint this week.
Who chose the color?
What color is it?
It's purple, like St. J.
Tell them to slow down. I bet Mel
is
would hope we
surprise.
wouldn't be in.
This is a surprise. Mel, you don't have to tell us what it is, but it's going to be a traditional color.
Who
Yes,
picked out the color?
Mel.
Believe me, I had help because I would not want to take sole responsibility for choosing the colors. The outside is going to be a light sand type color, so it'll be somewhat brown. The inside walls will be, it's called a kryptonite gray. It's a little on the bluish side. And we've, yeah, 'cause
Semi-gloss?
you're asking a question I don't have the answer to.
You don't want flat, you can't keep flat.
Okay. But it's the Sherwin-Williams paint that everybody gets, so it's good stuff. The carpet is kind of a grayish, bluish mixture to match the walls. And the tile, of course, that will be in the vestibule, in the bathrooms, and the kitchen is like a sandy color as well.
I have plenty of covers that I can help you repaint it if you have to.
Yeah.
On the weekends.
Yeah, I may need some help.
I would like to make one other comment about that. F&B is going above and beyond what we require in our contract. I want to bring that to the public's attention. For example, everybody knows to have a styrofoam insulated roof is 4 or 5 times more expensive than just standard. They put that in, they're putting in wood crown moldings and stuff like that to really make the office look nice. And I'm very, very happy with the work F&B's done. Chief, department reports.
Yes, sir. I received a letter from Attorney General's office, Pam Bondi, and Governor Rick Scott with an invitation to the Mexico Beach Police Department to meet in the Cabinet Room up at the Capitol for distinguishing themselves in the community in public awareness. So the department's acknowledged on the April 5th, we'll be going up to meet with the governor and Pam Bondi. Also, on the notes of education, monthly we do continuing education. Corporal Beverlin recently attended and completed the field training class. Officer Beverlin's now going to continue that training into the field training program and continue that in the department's growth. So he has returned. That was the officer here a little while ago. For the monthly report, we had 264 calls for service in Mexico Beach, resulting in 9 arrests, 2 other agency assistant calls, 3 disabled calls as far as vehicles, 1 drunk driver call, 11 follow-up reports. We had 2 hit-and-run reports, of which 1 did return once he had realized that he had actually opened his door onto somebody else's car. Lost property report, resulting in a citizen found a bag of marijuana and returned that to the police department, and I appreciate that. That was disposed of. It was not medical marijuana. Public service calls, we had 16 of those, 12 assisted or injured calls we assisted with ESU. We had 3 suspicious person calls, 56 traffic stops, which vast majority of them were warning citations, unless it was an actual probable cause arrest, which in turn was an actual citation. Our warnings are greater than our written citations, with exceptions to individuals that are selling themselves on 15th Street. As we mentioned earlier, obviously that is an area that needs a lot more attention. We had 3 welfare calls, 4 accident with no injury calls, 5 residential alarms. Vast majority of them were false alarms, people returning home. Did not recall or just hit the panic button as they entered the building. We had 9 ordinance violation calls that we responded to of animals, primarily dogs on the beach. We had 1 disturbance call that resulting in an arrest that was a physical altercation. 4 drunk pedestrian calls, 2 credit card fraud calls that actually one resulted in going into Port St. Joe, making contact. Now the individuals do not want to pursue charges. 1 overturned barge call in our canal that did have some oil and fuel spill, very minor. Coast Guard was notified moments after the vehicle of the vessel had overturned. They did not feel there was any kind of waterway pollution, so they did not respond. We did make contact with the property owners, and they diligently came out and did all the proper measures to keep it clean. We had 2 noise complaint calls. 3 juveniles playing basketball at 7:30 in the evening. One of the local citizens felt that was too noisy for 3 juveniles to be outside playing basketball. I personally made contact with them, and I told them the importance of bouncing a ball quietly. 7:30. But they felt that they were just having fun, not doing anything harm, but obviously we'll still follow up on any call that comes in. 5 reckless driving calls, 7 suspicious person calls, 1 unverified 911. We think it was a telephone problem because the address wasn't even a functional address. We had 1 accident with injuries. We had 1,960 building checks, nighttime and evening and daytime checks over a 28-day period. We had 1 disturbance call, which did result in an arrest. We had 1 fire structure call that was actually at 2701 Highway 98. It was a power pole that was taken care of. The gas leak or spill, which was the overturned barge. Again, Coast Guard did not come out. They didn't feel it was a problem. The juvenile calls, again, at 7:30, it took care of that. It wasn't a major issue. Recovered property, 1 was returned to the owner, and as I mentioned earlier, the marijuana was destroyed. That was not returned to the finder. And 5 theft calls. On a special note, we're still having problems with people leaving their cars unlocked, doors open, windows open. Please, whatever you have to do, if you see something out of the ordinary, see a neighbor leaving something open, if you're not comfortable talking to the neighbor, give us a call. If I'm here, I'll personally come out. I'll have an officer go out there so we can let the people know to secure their properties. You know, all the items that were stolen, to include 3 handguns, were in vehicles left unattended, windows down, doors unlocked, or it's in plain view. So for public safety, especially a weapon of any sort, pass it along, call us. I'll be more than glad to come out there, have somebody come out there. But other than that, that's all I have, sir.
Question of the chief.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Building checks, 1,960.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of calls do you get?
Uh,
I mean,
they're-
are they people
They're
that,
nighttime security checks where we go door to door for businesses that are closed, banks, churches, and stuff like that. We go rattle the doors.
Okay.
We have security tabs that we place in the doors saying that we came to a business.
okay, this is, all right, this is not personal calls, go check my house, I'm out of town?
No, ma'am.
Oh,
Those-
okay.
Those fall under
All right.
the normal calls for service, which is 264. It's actually, I think it's almost 35 checks we do a shift per officer. 35 to 40, depending on whatever it is. It has nothing to do with people out of town. This is solely businesses, churches, any kind of a building that it's a business.
Okay, I understand that, I was just interpreting that as personal house checks, and I'm thinking,
And again, all this
I was
is done
thinking,
with
give me
just
a
one
break.
officer a shift.
yeah.
So, I mean, our volume is up great. You know, the morale is good in the department. Everybody's happy to be here, and it's just, you can tell by the work that they're putting out.
How often do they find things unlocked?
A number-wise, I can't give you a number. if I was to say in a 30-day period, 5 or 6 times they'll find a business door unlocked. Because we have a recall, we'll go ahead and notify the business, they'll come out. Windows, doors, oftentimes we find car doors, trunks open to a vehicle. And oftentimes, if we can't make contact, if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll just leave a note, we closed your trunk, we closed your door. That way, if they come out in the morning and they were taking groceries out of the car or the child walked out of the car, we'll get a phone call, hey, yeah, I appreciate it, this is what it is. Now, obviously, if they come back and say, oh, my stuff is missing, because you'll see if somebody's ransacked the car. The glove box is open, things are disarrayed inside the vehicle, but the vast majority of it is just, people just forget. You know, they're hurried up to get into the house, especially on the second level houses. They'll have like a utility room downstairs, washer and dryer, fishing poles, things of that nature. That door is wide open. And we'll leave a note, close the door. If it's something missing, we know what time we went out there, so we got a starting point to go backwards. But vast majorities of the burglaries and thefts, people are returning home, and it could have been 3 or 4 months ago, so we haven't got a starting point of when something was missing.
Don't ever let your grandson meet Chief Kelly. Mine did this morning, and I've had to listen to the glory of Chief Kelly all day long. Yes, ma'am.
Does the city have any type of ruling on if you leave an unsecured gun in a vehicle, that in itself is some sort of crime?
It's an actual state statute, yes, ma'am. It's not a city ordinance, it's a state statute. You leave weapons unattended that you're responsible for, and it's found that you're negligent of it, you can be held accountable.
What does held accountable mean? Does
You
that
could
mean
be charged for the criminal charge.
Charged,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Mr. Stank.
But you have to show intent, that they purposely with intent.
Is stupidity an intent?
No.
I can't answer that.
For the month of February, we had 22 calls for service, 17 were medical, 2 fire-related, 3 citizen assists. As most of you know, I was gone almost all of last month doing my EMT training. Challenged the national test, so that is all done and over with. When I was gone, SCBA testing was conducted, all of our air packs and everything passed. Hose and ladder testing was set up, I believe that's being done this coming weekend. We had to do our annual fire extinguisher testing and inspection, so those are all taken care of for every department and everyone that the city owns. We have a new employee, his name is Blake Kemp. He completed his training, started taking shifts now. He was hired to replace Brendan Shea. Shea was one of our members. He's getting out of the Air Force and moving closer back home. We just want to thank him for his service in our armed forces and to our community also. Nick attended a regional hazmat meeting in Panama at the paper mill. It was all the other fire chiefs and regional hazmat coordinator. They discussed and learned how to prepare and operate during a hazmat incident. The best way for us to operate as a city with that. So we'll all be training with Nick on all that. One other thing that we have done, we're trying to go less paper when it comes to patient reports, all that type of stuff. Finding anything online is very expensive. One of our individuals actually took the time and created an online one for us on his own. We'll be implementing that later this month as soon as the finishing touches are on there. Other than that, I have nothing pending any questions.
Thanks, Mark. Neil, do you have Mr. Hall's report?
Yes, Mr. Hall provided a report after the packet went out. He has his normal one page of his metrics. He also provided a monthly review of the water flow every month from 2010 to present, which is quite interesting. Also, he's got another one for the sewage flow from 2010 to present. He also included what the total tonnage by day was by the sanitation department. He included February 2017 compared to February 2016. And also, as the mayor indicated, Philip did send me an email late in the day that it was promised that we should get the dredge back on Thursday. But of course, that's a weather thing because they got to ship it across some water on Thursday. So if the weather's great, we should get it back then.
If anybody looks at that report, please notice that we used a lot more water than we did sewer, which is a good thing. We don't ever want it to be reversed. Mel, your report?
Yes, sir. I finished a memo up this afternoon. I started it last week, but my priorities change pretty much on a daily basis. But nonetheless, I apologize. I can't put this on the overhead screen, but I'll read the memo. It is a rebate for water and sewer for Sharon Hurd for 103B 41st Street. The city installed registers on the water meters at 103A, B, and C 41st Street in 2009. We were unaware at the time, but the serial numbers for the registers for units A and B were inadvertently switched. We say that at least once a year in each of the past 7 years, Mrs. Hurd did contact the city to complain of high water and sewer bills. We were instructed to look for leaks, and on each occasion found none. It was discovered in the fall of 2016 that the serial numbers of 103A and B were crossed. In other words, she was paying the bill for her neighbor and the neighbor paying hers. The detailed spreadsheet that we provided by Lindsay and Sherry, shows each month's bill and the difference. We could not contact the owner of 103A for them to pay the arrears because there have been a couple of different owners since 2009, and we simply can't go back on a former owner on something they've already sold. The most recent sale was in 2016. We would have preferred to give a credit in lieu of the check, but Mrs. Hurd insisted on a check. And there is no provision in our ordinances where we can insist on a credit. The Florida Rural Water representative has provided language to us that we can put in our ordinance to give us that flexibility in the future. But the bottom line is, this is a hefty amount that I didn't have the authority to approve, so I need the city council to approve the water fund to repay Mrs. Hurd $4,537 and a penny. The sewer fund will have to pay $5,138.20. And the general fund, $317.59, for a total of $9,992.80.
Because this is the same address in 3 letters, I'm assuming this is a triplex?
That is correct.
The water meters are all right beside each other?
Yes, sir.
And we hooked the wrong meter to the wrong house
That's our assumption.
in '09.
In '09. And her neighbor's flowers and lawn looked a heck of a lot better than hers.
I bet it does. I wonder how that the era perpetuated itself in '15 when we put the new water lines in.
That's just a very good question.
They were careful to put the same meter back on the same line, which was a wrong meter.
Correct.
That's great.
So they did their job right then.
They did their job great in '15.
Yep.
And really, when I discuss this with the water department, this is, again, is a learning opportunity, because whenever we have a consistent complaint about high water bills, I think we all know that we're going to go double check those serial numbers on those registers and everything.
But if they're wrong in the computer, they're just wrong.
That's correct.
This is a bad mistake. I looked at the spreadsheet, and I know what some of you must be thinking, because I looked to see if they did it wrong. But the person in the other unit was really enjoying the water service. This lady barely ever went over in all these years, and the other one would have been going over repeatedly. And this is the one that's been sold a couple of times, and we have to go back and fix.
So they're fixed now.
They are fixed, yes, ma'am. And the new neighbor now is getting higher water bills and complaining about hers.
Sorry.
I personally don't see any option but to refund this lady any bills that have been overdone. Even when she went over, we had a record of that on the other unit. So when she went over, we owe her back.
Yep.
Yeah, we owe her back the difference between the two bills.
No interest.
That's a big chunk of money. But it went on for a long time, but I know I asked the water department, did she really call it every year? Yeah, every year.
What really finally brought it to a head then, if she called every year and we just finally got there?
And you know the answer to that.
Went out with the property manager and physically looked at the meter when water was actually running. And it was obvious at that point that the meter we thought should be running was not. Then it was figured out.
And thus the cross. Is there a motion to refund this lady these overpayments?
Sure. So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes. Now please issue prepare the check.
Thank you. One last thing is we are continuing to prepare for our June the 20th State of the City. If you want to call it celebration, you certainly can. We worked on our agenda at today's staff meeting. We'll fine-tune that again, and we're going to get a lot of items ready. We, again, will have hot dogs and hamburgers for people who want to come eat while we're talking. Because if all we do is stand up here and speak to the audience, it gets boring in a hurry. And especially when you look at Adrian's financial numbers. You know, there's nothing more boring than hearing numbers thrown at you. But Adrian, I'm sure, will make it as interesting as Adrian possibly can. So we just wanted to keep that out there, that June the 20th, 6 o'clock normal time, we'll have our State of the City.
Mel, we will have the ability for our citizens to talk to us of saying, hey, we need to get this or we need to buy that next year?
Without question, and that was one of the reasons we decided to do this. That some of the city council members' suggestions was to have some forum so the citizens could tell us what they want and expect from us in the budget, which starts that next month in July.
Will there be beer?
Unfortunately, no.
Is that an offer?
What you bring your little container with you, I'm not going to say.
Okay, anyone have any announcements? No. I have two. There'll be a mayoral debate right here in this room on April the 10th at 6 p.m. The entire public is invited. I'm sure 3 or 4 of you may want to come. And April the 18th is the citywide election for mayor this year. So those dates are only a month off. So look forward to seeing you all there and at the polls. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was easy. Thank you.